Well, it is, I mean, but they still look at what we spend and what you all approve and from motions and everything. I mean, they're sitting in my office right now today. I don't know if they're looking at your district, but they come in there once a week and take the minutes and everything from different districts and see that everything that was spent was approved.
So they review, they actually.
And so they're physically in
doing
there
a solid
reviewing.
audit.
Right.
I've got a couple other items.
Go ahead.
Number one, the presentation of this budget, the way it's formatted, I mean, you know, if somebody looked to pick this thing up, I mean, I think it'd be very confusing if they weren't familiar with numbers or whatever. I think it'd be better suitable for anybody looking at this thing, when you come down to revenues, total revenues, is under the revenues, take the discount, right? Take the $25,644, and then come up with a net revenue. And then when you come down to your expenses, then you reduce that, and you come down with the net revenue. And then from there, when you have the bond payment, then you come down to 6,200. All these other entries on there is just kind of a misnomer from the standpoint of a clear statement.
I will be happy to talk to our financial people about it, but that's the format we use in every district we represent.
To me, you know, if somebody picked this thing up, I mean, it was a novice, so to speak, from the standpoint of understanding numbers, I think they would have a hard time deciphering what's going on here. You have revenue, then you have expenses, then you have less expenses, then you have the bond payment, then you have the balance, then you come down with the discount, then you come down with the deficit. You know, the 6,200, where you could eliminate some of those line item entries by just putting moving the discount up on top after total revenues, and have your net revenues, and then take off your expenses, and then take your bond payment away, and you're going to have 6,200.
Okay, here, now, what this 6,200 represents, what you need to understand is that $6,200 represents a carryover from the prior year's budget to help keep the taxes down in this district. So those are funds that we have in excess that we don't need for this year.
Not for the fiscal year of 13-14. That's
$6,200.
That 6,200 is a net from this column.
It is.
It does not carry over from 2012 to 2013.
If you'll read the notation, carryover balance from prior year.
I know what it says is on the balance. I know what the statement says, but it's not accurate.
Well, that's what it's treated for.
Yeah,
I can put a different number, different name for you, but that's what the carryover balance is. That means that we're carrying that over into this year's budget to help offset the cost of the assessments.
Well, you're right about that. They come back down and take the 62 back off, and you come down to 0. Right about that. But I'm saying the 62 is correct, all right? But instead of having this 19,444 in there, you don't need that. You don't need that balance in there. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And then you come down to 6,200, you know, in brackets, and then you take the 6,200 carryover, you come down to 0. But I'm saying, I think my looking at financial statements, it'd be better, it'd be more clarity to move that 2566 discount up here on the revenue side as a deduction from the total revenue, and then with net revenue before you get your expenses.
I will discuss it. I'm not an accountant, so I'll discuss it.
I'm just and then the other thing is we have for the assessment. All right.
I'm gonna go back to that as soon as we get through.
Okay. We have for the assessment for the O&M of $161, you know, per unit, and that's how you arrive at the 96,822.
Right.
Now, how do you arrive at this $161.37?
That's for that 161.37. Basically, you take your expenses for O&M and divide it by the number of units that are being assessed, and that gives you the per unit basis.
Not the 99, you mean the 99,000?
Okay. The 90, whatever that is, yeah.
Well, 99,000, it comes up to 96,822. That's the difference I'm looking at.
I'm not following.
Well, if you go back to your...
We got 99,269. Right?
That's your total budget.
That's your expenses.
Expense budget, yeah.
That's your expenses, that's your O&M cost.
Right.
Divide that by the number of units that are being assessed, and,
It depends on lot size.
pardon me?
No, that's not that.
No, no, that one.
It doesn't
You
work
divide
out.
it, by the number of units, and that comes up to the 161.37 per unit. Now, it depends on your lot size as well.
Well, that's the
No, no,
other
no, it
portion,
doesn't.
that's a tax.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Go ahead and say, okay, go ahead and say so. I'm sorry, you're right. That's per unit. You got 600 total units in this development.
Mhm. Here's what I'm saying. Now, you take the 161.37
Okay?
times the 600 units.
Okay?
All right? You get 96.82, 822. That's this top number you have here as being O&M assessments.
Right.
Down here, you have a budget, it's expenses, I mean, all right? Well, what I'm saying, how did you determine that 161? And there's no formula here. 'Cause I've gone through all these numbers backwards and forwards, and there's no formula here to come up with a 161.37.
All I can tell you is that you gotta take a 0.93 because there is a collection fee for it. And I can't explain it to you, I don't know. But what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna have Jeff Walker call you, okay?
Yeah, please do.
All right. If you'll give me I've got your number, Jeff, if you'll call me.
There's a collector and an appraisal fee, 1%, but
Yeah.
that they need that to account for the difference.
That's the offset to the 0.93, but that, I'll have, I'm not an accountant. And so, give me your number, Lil.
I remember us going over this a few years back.
561.38.
It was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
This whole thing, there was some kind of other collection fee
Yeah,
or
they actually
something else.
footnoted
I'll
it.
have to call you.
It's footnoted.
Yeah, because, somewhere along the line, these numbers should all balance out. Even if they don't. Anyway, that's what I'd like to know.
Okay.
Now, my last thing about this thing here, going back to 2004, when Crawford here wrote up the engineering report for the CDD, one of the recommendations they had on there was a footnote. The district, and I'll read this out, the district will need funding to acquire a portion of the improvements including this report. The engineering recommends that in addition to the annual non-ad valorem assessments to be levied and collected by the district and pay debt service, that's for the bonds, not a part of it. The district should levy and collect an annual maintenance assessment, and that's what we're talking about here, to be determined, assessed, and levied by the district board of supervisors, that's us, on the accessible real property within the district for the purpose of defraying the costs and expenses of maintaining district-owned improvements. Now, that last statement is really the nail biter. Defray the costs and expenses of maintaining district-owned improvements. What we're doing here, we prepared, this budget is being prepared, this expenditure budget. And all it's doing is covering overhead. There's no provisions in here for future improvements or anything, or build up a reserve or whatever you might call it. And to me, that's and I think it goes back really to our legislatures, all right? They come up with, first of all, they come up with this bond, infrastructure bond, all right? And they develop a CDD. They develop management companies like yourself, all right, to manage a CDD. And basically, it all comes down to is more expense for the homeowner, all right, to supplement all these expenses without actually doing any good from the standpoint of helping out with collection of monies in order for improvements, just like we're going through with these weirs. So that's the way the system is.